he mentions one thing for an example that nobody wants to talk about anymore, which is the fact that the states still do have this power. Most of them are too timid or worried about their federal funding to do anything with it. But he did mention the fact that the federal ID program has completely been scrapped because none of the state, most of the states actually say, screw you. We have our own ID program in our state. We don't want a federal one on top of it. And so they just rejected it. And the feds said, well, okay, never mind. We're sorry we even brought it up. So the possibility exists that you could do this more often. But let's finish that clip.
6?
Oh, that was the end of that clip?
Yeah, I got 6 and 2, which we skipped.
Oh, okay, well, 6 is a good one.
Another objection.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Didn't the Civil War settle all this?
Okay.
Hold on. That 6 is an interesting argument I want to save in case it comes up in the conversation. You can play 2 and you get a little idea more about what was going on during the Civil War or before.
People are handing out flyers and handbills saying, "Look, we're going to have a giant rally here in Milwaukee, standing up for the powers of our states to protect the innocent against the incursions of a federal government that knows no constitutional limits." The states standing up for poor blacks who had no one to stand up for them. This is gone from our history. Now, of course it's gone. Of course, if you wanted to exercise absolute power, what version of U.S. history would you want to peddle? Well, one in which, of course, the states are always evil, the federal government is always a progressive force, only a jerk or a would-be Hitler would want to stand up to the federal government. Of course you'd want to pass off that version of history. Unfortunately, it happens not to be true. And it's long past time that we resurrected the real version, not the comic book version of American history.
So this is, and I will put a link in the show notes to this. It's available on Amazon. I'm going to buy this on my iBooks right after the show. I'm going to read this before Thursday's show. Nullification, How to Resist Federal Tyranny in the 21st Century. This guy, finally, someone actually says it, and says it correctly. And the educational, I wonder, parents, I'm sure we have parents who listen to this program. Ask your kids what they're teaching them about the Constitution in school. And I guarantee you this ain't it. I mean, he said it so eloquently. He said the whole idea was, instead of having one big government like all the other Gitmo nation states around the world, which has always been the same over and over, the idea was to have a small collection of communities where, if you live in Tennessee, driving around with a shotgun in your gun rack and having a can of beer next to you is maybe more acceptable for that community. Well, maybe not, but, I'm not in Tennessee, but I can understand where it might be. And if you're in California, you want to smoke some dope, that's acceptable to us. That's what we're okay with. And the federal government has nothing to say about it.
Right.
Love that. Wow.
Well, that's the way it's supposed to be. And that's what the Tea Party movement's actually about. Sometimes they don't even know it. And I'll tell you, the media definitely doesn't know it. They don't know. They're all all on board, all in. They're all pushed all the coins into the middle of the table for the idea of a national government that trumps state government when it's not in the Constitution. And you even have people like Pat Buchanan, by the way, who's supposedly a right-winger, who would love to scrap the Constitution. He's said so a million times. He says we should have a new, and him and a bunch of other guys have said we need a constitutional convention. We need to get rid of this thing. And the reason we got to get rid of it is because of this basic nature. Now, this is starting to boil up, by the way. This is new. This has been floating around a little bit in the background. But with this book and some other and the Tea Party movement, this is going to start, if they do teach-ins and teach people about this.
Teach-ins, yeah. Let's do a teach-in. I love that. I'm
telling you, these big meetings should have people lecturing about this. Beck should talk about it a little more. Now, this guy does mention something. I don't have the clip. But he said,
Oops. I was waiting for that to happen.
Including Rush Limbaugh or any of these guys, will discuss this at all.
And why is that?
Well, you tell me.
I think because they don't know. Because it's been so...
I think it's because they're not on board with it.
Really? Eric just sent me a note. He says, they aren't teaching the Constitution in school. I learned about it from a poster that John and Mimi put in my bathroom. And you know what? At least put a poster of the Constitution in your kid's bathroom. At least they'll learn something.
Well, they're taking a crap. I mean, it's, so that's the respect that the country has for this thing. Is disgusting.
Was that your educational idea? Is, hey, wait a minute, if we put this in the kid's bathroom while he's taking a dump, maybe he'll read it. I like that. It's a good idea, John. That kind of nullifies the fact you put your kids on a leash.
Yeah, you're never going to let that one go.
No
so,
beautiful, beautiful.
This
This is phenomenal. You win. You win. I can already tell you right now, you win. You have opened up my mind into a whole new simple way of saying things. And it seems like this is something this should probably go into our primer, by the way. People can use this and say, do you know what the Constitution actually says and how it works and how the United States are supposed to work? And instead they waste these kids' time learning about how many senators there are and how many people in the House of Representatives, who was the 16th president, who was, don't waste the kids' time with that. Teach them this simple fact. The United States was meant to be a collection of individual communities who had their own ideas, and we all kind of get along and we share some costs on some general stuff.
Yeah, like defense.
Yeah.
We don't want California having its own, ICBMs, stuff like that. But then they do have the power of taxation, so they tax us and they build an army and they do the rest of it. I mean, they have powers. The Constitution is pretty clear. It does a bunch of things. It can do treaties and all the rest of it. But it can't tell you, unless there's an amendment, that marijuana is illegal in California if California says it's legal. And the fact that the feds are still cracking down, sending people in, and nobody's complaining about it, or like you suggest, bring out the National Guard and tell these DEA guys to go to hell. Until that happens, this is going to continue. And everyone's going to accept it. Well, it's a federal law. It's a federal law. This is very subversive, by the way. This book, Nullification, you should read it. Everyone who's listening to this show should read this book. It doesn't take much to figure out what's going on, but it's a very interesting tome, and it does bring up the fact that the school systems have been brainwashing the kids not to pay any attention to. No, don't want to hear about this.
No. Well, and I think Gitmo Nation Deutschland has the right idea, according to a recent poll by ARD, Deutschland Trend. 94% of all Deutschers now believe that demonstrations are necessary before the government will listen to them. And I think we've got to have teach-in demonstrations, and maybe we've just got to go out there and really, really show our teeth. And I'll be driving the Saab up front with the flag.
Well, Wood points out the fact that, in Germany, before it hit the rise of Hitler, it was pretty much it was a very similar federal system. And the first thing Hitler did was eliminate the federal system because he didn't want all these little communities, Bavaria and the rest of them, to have their own ideas about anything. Because you can't have a dictatorship, a virtual dictatorship, a real dictatorship, or any other sort of onerous
without
system.
Bloodshed.
Without slamming the door on this idea of a federal system. You
John,
can't do it.
How beautiful is it that on 10-10-10 Day we talk about the 10th Amendment?
Coincidence? I think not.
I love it. I love it.
One.
Yeah, you're good, man. This is great.
And by the way, the 10th Amendment wasn't added just as a joke, which the Supreme Court, by the way, you have that what's her name, Kiki.
No, actually, I think they were sitting around going, hey, man, I got a great joke. Let's put this one in. Let's see what happens in 200 years.
The current Supreme Court liberal members have all sloughed off the 10th Amendment as, it's old, it's old-fashioned, it doesn't mean anything, it's not important. And
it is the key ingredient.
And once Obama gets one more person in, the 10th Amendment is going to be, I'm surprised they just don't go to repeal it. I mean, it seems to me.
Well, we have to fight that. We have to fight that.
Well, luckily, this book, I think, which is a nice, small, easy-to-read book, is out, and it summarizes things better than anyone I've ever seen summarize it. And now it's out there. There's a nullification movement in the country.
That's great. Nullification. I love it, John. That's fantastic. Great job on that. You actually opened my eyes to